Michael Ray with NTTA, thank you so much for joining us. Well, we've got a snowstorm coming, so I'm wondering what it is that NTTA is doing to prepare for this.
Yeah, it's what we're continuing to do. We started pre-treating some days ago. We're doing another round of that today. That's putting down brine, that solution that is heavily laced with salt that will dry and form a barrier on the roadway. After that, we continue on our around-the-clock shifts, and we react to whatever precipitation does come into the area, and we will fight that as it arrives.
And I know as far as prepping for ice, which you guys did earlier in the week, and now you prep for snow, I mean, are there any differences as far as the prep, and now you got to get, plows ready and all that other stuff?
The prep is the same. You always want to keep the precipitation that falls as close to liquid as possible. That's why we do the brine pre-treatment. And then as precipitation comes in, no matter what form, we will put down a heavy salt mixture that'll give traction and will continue to melt that. If it accumulates, then we'll use our snow plows on it to move it off the roadway and allow us to retreat a then clean surface. So it's really a kind of a cycle of treatment that we're constantly involved in, constantly checking our system, patrolling in the overnight hours, especially for any slick spots. And we just react to the weather and fight it.
And one thing I know about NTTA's roads, the Bush, DNT, not as much as 121, but you got a lot of bridges. I mean, that Bush, on the east side, there's a lot of raised surfaces, and also in the Carrollton, Irving area too. You got a lot, and even down into Grand Prairie, a lot of high surfaces and bridges. So talk to me a little bit about, the extra effort there.
We have roadway sensors throughout our system, and that's monitored by our Safety Operations Center. And that shows us not only the temperature of the surface itself, it can be different than the air temperature, but it also shows the form that any precipitation is in. If it's water, it'll read such, and that would be chemically treated water, in other words, or it could be ice, and it will reveal that. And that allows us to get our smaller trucks that are very maneuverable, or what we call hotshot trucks, into an area that's troubling us and get sand on that quickly. So we have a variety of ways to monitor it. So we're trying to constantly be ahead of the situation, in a point where we're not trying to play catch up, we're actually being very proactive.
Given what happened yesterday in Fort Worth, I'm wondering, does anything change as far as your prep?
Yeah, it's obviously a tragic situation, but it's something I can't speak to, not being our roadway. I can say that our procedures have been in place. They've been tried and true for decades at NTTA, and we put down a large amount of material if needed. It's something where we'd rather overdo it than underdo it. Can sweep it up next week, hopefully, but we'll always be putting down material as needed throughout an event.
And I would imagine, because there's construction on 121, for example, in Denton County, and Collin County as well, as I think about it, for widening purposes. Does that complicate things?
No, not really. We're still dealing with treatment of the road surfaces that we have available. It all really comes down to, we can treat and treat and treat, but drivers need to respond as well and make sure that they adjust their speeds accordingly, and understand that our road crews are out there first and foremost trying to give them a wide berth. But for your own safety, really, you have to adjust your speeds to the conditions at hand. So you must know before you go. And obviously, with the type of weather we're expecting, it's perhaps wise not to go at all.
And my last question to you is, as far as, when you talk about pre-treating, and obviously you want to prevent, you know, the roads from icing up, but it's no guarantee, right? I mean, you put all this stuff down, there's no guarantee that there's not going to be ice on the road, right? It's just impossible to prevent 100%. Isn't that right?
I think that's an accurate assessment. If the weather comes very quickly, again, we're battling it, but there are no guarantees. The temperatures being what they are, the precipitation. So that's why it really becomes incumbent on drivers to react and slow dramatically, and again, not be on the roadway at all. We will do everything humanly possible to fight this menace, this ice and precipitation, and we'll make the roads as safe as we can. That's what we're all about. But it all does come down to recognition of your environment, and you really must slow down. And unless it's absolutely necessary to be on the road, clearly this is a time to stay home.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.